I believe I can fly. I believe I can touch the sky. Think about it every night and day. Spread my wings and fly away. I believe I can soar. See me running through that open door. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly.
I believe I can fly. I believe I can fly. Touch the sky, soar. I think about it every day, every night. You know, I think that's what the Wright brothers did. I think they thought about flying every day and every night until they did it. One of the witnesses, they didn't have many witnesses there, was a young man called Johnny Moore. And as the plane took off, he ran after it saying, "They done it, they done it. Dang it if they aren't flying." Today's talk is the power of imagination. And imagination is what got the Wright brothers to be the first people in flight. Reverend Teresa and I were watching a tribute to Muhammad Ali last night. And she said, "You're doing imagination tomorrow, aren't you?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And she says, "Listen to this great quote." And this is what Muhammad Ali said: "The man who has no imagination has no wings." Isn't that beautiful? Imagination is the source of every form of human achievement. Let that sink in. This year, each month, we are doing what we call one of our 12 powers. And our 12 powers are this innate faculty we have in us. They're these powers we have in us that we've forgotten about. And so the reason for doing this one a month is to help us remember the gift of these powers that we have. And the first one we did in January was faith. Our ability to draw good from the invisible to the visible. In February, we did strength. Our ability to be still, to be patient, to be tolerant, to be steadfast, to be balanced. So you have all this in you. And the next one we did was wisdom. Our ability to just discern, to evaluate, to decide wisely. So we stack them. The faith, the strength on top of that, and then the wisdom. Do you see how they go together? The next one we did was love. Not the human love, that's emotional. Our ability to know our oneness with all things, with everyone and all things. Yesterday evening, I went for a walk on the beach, and we've got that tropical storm coming in, and it's the wind and the waves. And I was walking in the water, and as I reminded myself, I'm one with all of it. And after a while, I could feel no separation. This is the remembering of who we are, what we are, that oneness. The last one we did was power. Our ability to transform energy from one plane to another. Now, we have this ongoing class Tuesday morning on these powers. And so we've been on the power of power for, 4 weeks maybe. We had the last one on that. And I looked at him and said, "Okay, what does it mean to transform energy from one plane to another?" Dead silence. But we got there. This month, we're doing the power of imagination. Our ability to direct and shape unformed energy. Sounds like magic, doesn't it? But we have that magic in us. So the dictionary tells us that imagination is a faculty of forming new ideas or images of external objects not present to our senses. Humankind, you and I, have the ability, unlike any other creature, to use our power of imagination to see things that never existed. That's how the Wright brothers got there. So, how many sci-fi fans do I have? Sci-fi, whoa, figures, it's a Unity Church. So to enjoy sci-fi, we immerse ourselves in the story, and to do that, we have to suspend a lot of beliefs, don't we? We have to accept things that seem a little bit impossible in our everyday realm. But sci-fi has so many times been the precursor to scientific reality. So I'm going to give you some examples. In 1870, Jules Verne wrote the book, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, 1870. Accurately describing in that book submarine features that did not yet exist on the very primitive submarines of the day. Imagination. In 1928, the newspaper comic strip, now some of you might remember it, some of you in here might remember it, Buck Rogers appeared. Who remembered Buck Rogers? Okay, wow, more than I thought. And this was about a pilot who flew spaceships to distant planets. 1928, 41 years before Neil Armstrong walked on the moon. You see the power of this imagination? And this one. Now, I know most of you know this one. In 1966, which is 50 years ago, Captain Kirk, aboard the Starship Enterprise, used a handheld wireless device to speak to people thousands of miles away. The first mobile phone appeared in 1973. Our today's cell phones didn't start till 1996. So Verne's books, the Buck Rogers comic strip, the Star Trek series were all called science fiction. But look where they brought us. So, you Trekkies, do you remember the beginning of every Star Trek series and what they said? Dan? With me. To boldly go where no man has gone before. That's where imagination takes us. It is one of the most powerful forces on earth. And it is the one we stifle the most. So how often have you said to yourself, it's just my imagination. Oh, I've got such a wild imagination. Imagination is what creates and changes this world. So don't disqualify your imagination. Pay attention to it. See where it's going to lead you. Do you think that the first person who imagined landing on the moon, so just think about it, the first person who thought about landing on the moon, do you think that person was thinking like everybody else, like his peers during that time? Of course not. Landing on the moon seemed wild, it seemed far-fetched, unattainable, until someone did it, right? Everything created in this world, everything was first imagined in someone's mind. The lights, all this equipment we have around us, computers. For every great invention, a piece of music, art, a medical breakthrough, there was someone who imagined it. So what is imagination? Dan, you have that up there. Imagination gives shape, form, and color to unformed mental energy. Do you hear the power in that? What does it mean? It means we have the power to rearrange divine energy. Remember, we've talked about energy. Everything, everyone is energy. It moves through us. So our mental thinking, our thoughts, our energy, that forms into definition and enters our living experience. If I use it with a laser focus, if I believe it. If I desire something, an object, an event that is not visible to me, and I use the power of my imagination and project it in my mind's eye, see the details, the height, the width, the depth, the smell, the color, just as though it were real. It has the same effect on my body as though it were. When Air Force Colonel George Hall was a POW for 7 years in Vietnam, he'd been an avid golfer. And so while in prison, every day he played a game of golf in his imagination. 1 week after his release, he entered the Greater New Orleans Open and shot a 76 after not playing golf for 7 years. If we want to create or achieve something, all we have to do is imagine it in detail. And our body, and this is scientifically proven, our body responds in the same way as if it were really happening. In 1980, the Olympics, the Russians split their athletes into 2 groups. In Group A, the training was 100% traditional physical practice. In Group B, listen to this, it was 75% mental and 25% physical. Group B won the majority of the medals. As far as our brain is concerned, imagining is the same as actually doing it. The brain goes through the same pattern of activation. So they're using imagination now not just to improve athletes' performances, but actually to help them heal injuries faster. And isn't that what we're based on Myrtle Fillmore's healing? She saw her body, her organs healed, healthy. So prove it to yourself. Take something that you want in your life, something you desire, and just spend time imagining it's real. If it's your health, if it's an object, it's a relationship, start imagining it exactly the way you want it. Be real detailed about it. Believe that it's going to work, and it does. This is why we offer this class, Prosperity Plus, twice a year in here. How many of you taken Prosperity Plus? Good. So all you that didn't raise your hand, it's your turn. We have another class starting in December, but the whole class is about this. It's how to create in your life through the power of your imagination. Dan, you have the next one for me? Imagination is vision beyond appearances. Vision beyond appearances. Our ability to perceive limitless possibilities of good, even if they're invisible at the time. Vera Freiland was a Jewish teenager on the run for the Gestapo, and she lived undercover in Berlin during the Holocaust. All during that time, she kept imagining that she was a psychiatrist in a free land. Vera overcame the Nazis, the Soviet army, and a bout with cancer, and today she is a psychiatrist at San Francisco Medical School. And listen to this. She is the foremost trainer in advanced imaging techniques to overcome traumatic events. So here's this teenager, running for her life. But yet she's imagining something way beyond what she can see. And if she can do it, why can't I? Your power of imagination is a spiritual gift from God. Do you believe that? Yeah. It's the link between our present consciousness and future possibilities, new solutions that are unavailable in this old way of thinking I have. In Ephesians 4:23, Scripture says, "Be renewed in the spirit of your minds, and clothe yourselves with the new self, created according to the likeness of God." You hear it all the time. We are created in the image and likeness of God. That power, that presence, that energy that we call God is within each of us. So what happens to it? I forget it's there. I get stuck in thinking I'm just this body with all these limitations. We can co-create with God whatever we can imagine. This is sometimes a little big to get our mind around, but we have to let ourselves get big. We have to let our thinking get beyond those thoughts that we've had all our lives. The greatest control I have, the greatest control you have, is the power to direct your thoughts. So what are you doing with your thinking right now? What were you doing with it before you walked in the door? When you're trying to go to sleep at night and you can't go to sleep, you're letting it be in charge, aren't you? And you have the power over it. Because our thoughts construct the very fabric of our life. So don't be flimsy with them. Don't be wishy-washy with your imagination. Kids are great, aren't they? They just imagine all kinds of things. They live in that wonderful world of imagination. Look how happy they are. If I look at my life through eyes of lack or limitation, what I don't have, then what am I imagining? I'm actually creating lack in my life and in my future. Because what I think about is going to just keep happening. Napoleon Hill, and this is someone Mary Morrissey uses in Prosperity Plus often. Napoleon Hill said this: "What the mind of man can conceive, it can achieve." Say that with me. What the mind of man can conceive, it can achieve. I can achieve. So if I want a better life, I have to give that life force that's moving through me definite direction. If I want a better life, I have to give the life force that's moving through me definite direction. I'm in charge. I have to channel my energies into imagining the life I want. As soon as I go into that victim mode, I'm going to get more of that in my life, aren't I? Be specific when you're imagining you're good. And also be willing to change what you're imagining. Because you have to be receptive. So if I'm imagining this one thing and I really got it, and something else shows up that's actually better for me, I have to be willing to shift the picture and move with it. So say I want to travel. I want to go from here to California. And I see myself in the airplane. I've even imagined a first-class seat. I've just got it down in detail. The money's not there, but I keep imagining. And then all of a sudden I get gifted a train ticket to go cross country. Do I say, no, that's not what I'm imagining? That's when I shift, because I trust that this is for my higher good, that I'm supposed to go by the train for some reason, right? So we imagine, and then we're open to something even bigger and something even better. When I was in ministerial school, someone that was a year ahead of me had no transportation. And so he was constantly praying for transportation. Now, a prayer is also a form of imagination, and that's a whole nother lesson. But if you think about it, what prayer is and what you're saying in prayer, that is imagination. So anyway, he continually prayed for better transportation. And just before he was ordained, before he graduated, he was gifted a bicycle. Now, I'm sure he was imagining a beautiful car. However, his first church, after being ordained, was on an island where bicycles were the mode of transportation. True story. True story. When you picture you're good, be bold, be specific, and remain open to something better. So we are going to affirm imagination today with denials and affirmations. And remember, we use a denial to take the power of our negative thinking away. And then as soon as we do, we have to fill it with a positive thought. So Dan, let's put the denial up. And I'm going to read it once, and then we'll do it together. There are no limitations or boundaries in my life. Let's say that together. There are no limitations or boundaries in my life. Again, there are no limitations or boundaries in my life. Close your eyes. There are no limitations or boundaries in my life. Breathe it in. And now the affirmation. I'll read it first. I shape and form my life through the power of my imagination. And together, I shape and form my life through my power of imagination. Again, I shape and form my life through my power of imagination. Close your eyes. I shape and form my life through my power of imagination. Breathe it in. And open your eyes. And we do have cards in, they're probably out, I'm hoping out on the table out there with those affirmations on them. So, starting today, I want you to say yes to boldly going where no man has gone before through the power of your imagination. God bless you.